Right, I believe I'm live, and for the first time I think in landscape, which is novel, so you can actually see what's behind me. Check it out, blue skies, look at that. I'm very pleased it's blue skies today because I've got some competition when it comes to landscapes and scenery coming on. Let me just take these off. Oh. Yeah, so I'm holding it sideways because I'm very pleased to say that today we got Rebecca from Core Values of Physical Therapy coming online with me as well. Now, we haven't done this before. I know Rebecca is particularly concerned, but I've told her she's no need to be, because Rebecca I've been following for ages. She puts out some fantastic content. She's a great therapist, fantastic role model, and I'm really pleased to get her on. So in theory, all I've got to do is find Rebecca in my list. I'll give her a wave first of all. She's there. I think she's just been for a run as well, unless her plans didn't quite work out. And I think what I can do now is I can actually invite Rebecca to join me, which I do by... How you doing?
Perfect.
Oh,
Hey, how are
geez.
you?
I don't even come close to your blue. I was thinking, oh, so glad I got some blue in Lansing, but check out your sky. Jeez.
It's a pretty nice day today. Nice and cool
It's
in
always
Florida.
like that, isn't it? Oh, look at it. I'm well jealous.
Can't complain.
Yeah, she
Florida's
says, yeah.
got-
This is so cool. Thanks for saying yes to this. It's amazing. I'm really
I'm
pleased.
excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
No worries at all. So I've put on, just so people who didn't see the advert and just seen, oh, what are those two going live for? I made the title of this, yeah, how to get your mojo and running during this COVID-19 situation, which I imagine is pretty similar for you as it is for us over here in the UK. What's the situation with lockdown over where you are? Is there any restrictions in Florida or?
Yeah, well, it's actually pretty interesting in the States because each state is allowed to make its own regulations. So there was a government mandated nationwide shutdown for a while, but now the president has allowed us to, like, each state to kind of decide what they will and won't open. And so it just kind of depends on the state you're in. So in Florida, we are no longer on official lockdown, but there are still restrictions. So like gyms are not allowed to be open. I don't think hair salons are allowed to be open yet, but restaurants are able to open to like 25% capacity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's and every state's different. So like I know Georgia is a little more relaxed in what they allowed to open. Florida, like the beaches, I think opened up again. California, they opened up the beaches, but then they revoked it because there were too many people there. So every state's just a little bit different. It's almost hard to follow and keep track of everything.
That's amazing. So it's not central control then. So you haven't all got to start, and I apologise for this, but you haven't all got to legally start injecting yourself with disinfectant or anything then?
No.
That's good.
I just think that was what was in my water bottle.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's good that you control it. Yeah, your own. Yeah, that's cool. Anyway, so just in case we're on my channel, so presumably people who are on this at the moment know who I am, but give us a little breakdown on who you are and where you are and what you do to live, love and survive.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Rebecca Smith. I am a physical therapist here in Orlando, Florida. I've been practicing for about it'll be 10 years in August now, and finally decided to open up my own practice in September. So Core Values Physical Therapy, where I can specialize with the endurance athlete and runners, which is my passion. And it's been really, really fun. It's a newfound motivation for me, and I absolutely love it.
And you're no strange to the UK either, are you, as I discovered last year?
No. So my husband is from England. He's from Bromley. We randomly met in, there he is, D-Smudge. We randomly met in a hostel in New Zealand, both traveling when we needed some time off of life, and it just worked out. So yeah, I had the pleasure of being able to use visiting his family last October as an excuse to come out to the Run Chat Live conference. It was great.
That was great. I never thought in my life I'd ever hear Florida and Bromley in the same kind of sentence. It's amazing. It's good to bring them together. Nothing against Bromley though. I've never been there, but wicked. Okay, so let's just say hello to a few people who are in the room. This is weird because I've got to look down sideways now. That's why I'm cricking my neck. There's probably people there who you might know better than me. I think you can probably see their names as well. Marky Sue, hello. Endurance Physio, Mike James is here. Hey Mike, how you doing?
Hi Mike.
Oakham Podjo, podiatrists are in here. Anna Mongan, how are you doing, Anna? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. So obviously the idea is this, if anyone has got any questions, then feel free to pop them down here. Oh, Jess is here from Bikes and Laces, who introduced me to Instagram Live Duel. So thanks, Jess. I'm giving it a go now. And we've got loads of people joining us. It's fantastic. It's got to be you, because I never get more than 20 people, and they're all flooding in here. I knew it was a good idea to get you in here. Fantastic. Right, so what I'm thinking, because I think when we talk about Mojo, for us, I think there's two distinct subjects here. There's one, Mojo's for runners, and also I'm hoping we have time, unless you've got time constraints, to talk a little bit about Mojo's for therapists as well, because that's another area. We've definitely got some therapists in the house. So two sets of questions, people. One, if you're a runner, are you struggling with Mojo? Have you found any solutions? Any questions on retaining Mojo or getting it back? And then also questions from therapists who, I mean, I know I have, and I think I've seen from Rebecca's timeline that she has, but any problems with maintaining that Mojo? Because it's all very well us being upbeat, yeah, you can run, you can do this, you're great, we're going to solve your injury, but that kind of puts quite an onus on us as well as our own lives. We've both got family and stuff. So you're a therapist out there, are you struggling with Mojo? And if so, have you found any great ways to share with everybody else? So let's do runners first of all. You're looking after runners at the moment, aren't you? Is this are you allowed to do
so we are allowed to do face-to-face. I decided to close down my practice and not do any face-to-face. You know, I have a young child at home. I don't want to get anyone sick. I would never want that on my conscience. And I actually find, so I'm able to do telehealth, and as a lot of therapists are, and I find that I'm able to get pretty much all the information I need from runners that I could in person. So I found it to be relatively successful. I am a manually trained therapist, so it's difficult for me not putting my hands on people. I love that kind of physical connection, that personal connection, even just a handshake or a little hug or high five after a good session. So that's difficult, but you find it in words, you find it in your demeanor. And yeah, I think it's going all right. But there are clinics that are open and remaining open as usual. Legally, that's allowed. I just didn't feel comfortable with that.
That makes sense. What about, because you're quite near CrossFit as well, are CrossFit centers opening? Are people still going to that?
No, they're still closed. So gyms are not allowed to be open. And again, that might be a state-by-state thing, but our governor, he said to keep gyms closed. So our CrossFit gym is still closed. I do work out of a CrossFit gym. Technically, like I said, if I wanted to, I could treat patients. But it's just not something I think is necessary right now. I think everything that we need to achieve, we can achieve on the telehealth sessions.
Yeah, I think there's a good message there. Maybe in the second half, I'll ask you about that, because I think there's probably some pointers we can give other therapists who are worried about setting up telehealth. And I'll ask you later on about how you did that and whether it was a bit worrying about what software to use or can I do this. But to start off, I'd quite like to know, maybe we'll go backwards and forwards about ideas which you've given runners to get their Mojo. Have you had patients or clients who have lost their Mojo? And if so, what have you given them to try and get them back on track and performing well?
Yeah, usually just getting into that conversation with the person about why they got into running in the first place, and just kind of reminding them of their original love and passion for it, and just kind of having that, I don't know, that memory lane kind of talk. It just lets people remind themselves, like, this is why I run. This is why I get out of bed in the morning. This is why I originally started doing this. And, I'll give people, like, I'll ask them, what's their motivator? Like, is it weight management? Is it cardiovascular health? Is it, the endorphins, stress release? So you just got to find out why they run in the first place, and then just kind of use that as their motivating factor. And sometimes I'm like, listen, if running is giving you displeasure right now, it's making you unhappy, it's more of a job, you don't want to do it, just take some time off. Sometimes that's your body and mind's way of saying, like, you just need a little break. Find something else, like go for walks, like enjoy nature. But even like for me, like our community is relatively big, but you can only run the same road so many times and the same loop so many times before you just kind of get that. It's almost boring almost. So I'll tell people to drive to a different neighborhood, drive to a different park, like get a change of scenery. So that's why I'm out in this area in Claremont, Florida, which is about 45 minutes away from where I live. And it's this clay loop. It's a 10-mile loop with rolling hills, and it's just farmland. It's absolutely gorgeous. And just getting into nature and getting that change of scenery is just revitalizing. And I had the best run of, the longest time today. So it's just some little things like that, but just reminding yeah, just having that conversation, be like, why do you run? What's your motivating factor? And just getting them to remember that. But then also reminding them that it's okay to take a break and not be so hard on themselves if they can't get it right now. They'll get back to like a regular normal at some point.
That's brilliant. I mean, that's just clinical gold, as Jack Chew would say. There's loads to be taken from what you just said, and it's so true. Some runners just need to pull back. It's not the time or the place. Some people are really stressed out, and I'm always reminding. I think of a few people online. I've said, you know what? Until you can sort out this late night shift you're having to do at the hospital, or it's amazing how many people are having to work over here, and they are shattered and they're scared because they're going to work and they don't really want to, but they're worried about not getting an income. And then because they've got all that frustration and stress and anxiety, they're then trying to go out to run to save themselves, and it just doesn't mix. As you know, stress is stress. And although it feels like you want to go out and just run through the hills, if your body's knackered and you only slept 3 hours, it's not going to help. So what you said is so true. Sometimes it is a case of just finding something a little bit stressful than running. And also what you said about just communication. I mean, I think that the glorious thing about you that I really like, and it comes through when you speak, when you smile, but even when you do your exercises in your house, is it's just motivation. I think a little tip for the therapists out there is this is the time where most therapists, you do it because you do want to help people. You've got a natural empathy, and it's something where you can help people by just talking and empathizing. And like you say, why did you want to start running? Why are you doing this? Let's talk through it. So for runners out there, sometimes you've got to realize now you're not just going to call up a therapist because you're looking for some exercises. Sometimes it's for that chat. We're not therapists. And if it's something really kind of which you need to speak to a proper therapist and get some counseling care, then we've probably got contacts we'll put you through. But if it's just a chat about lost your mojo and how am I going to get back, call up your therapist. They're human. They've been there themselves. So really good piece of advice. What else? What other have been another top tip that you've given your runners? Maybe think of a case history or something. I don't know, something that's actually happened with somebody and you've found a way to get them back on track.
Well, just trying to time manage. So, people who have children and they're now working from home and they have to deal with, kids at home. So I think you were talking about this the other day, like running with the stroller, running with the kids again, getting them involved in your activity as well. So my son's 4, so he's not really at that age where he can kind of keep up with me on a bicycle. So we've been using the running stroller again. I haven't used that thing in about a year and a half, and we're using it on all my easy recovery runs. And it's so funny. Like, he's just hilarious in the stroller. He'll complain about he's hungry, or he needs more snacks, or he's, wants to listen to Frozen while we're running, or his legs are tired. I'm like, you're sitting in a stroller. So he's just hilarious. And having the conversations with him, and he'll kind of make it into a game. He'll be like, can you run me over to the bush over there so I can grab leaves as we're running? So then it's like, okay, now I have to figure that. But just incorporating your family kind of into the exercise can be helpful in terms of the time management. And I've had that conversation with a few of my patients. Honestly, like, I've recently had to tell a couple patients to hold off and to just kind of back off, because it was bringing them so much negativity. But they needed to hear that it was okay to kind of give themselves that break, because I don't think runners accept that sometimes it's okay to stop running for a little while and kind of give themselves that refreshment. And so I had one woman who I was like, just stop for a couple of days, like, just take a break. Don't stress yourself out about getting that alarm clock, and let's make, Monday, this day, your first run back, and just start fresh. And she did, and she felt so much more rejuvenated after. So it's just, sometimes you just got to hold them back a little bit as well.
That's so true. And it's reminded me, I mean, we've had the London Marathon, which was cancelled, and that was 20 days ago or something. But it reminds me of, I'm sure it's the same for you, in the lead up to marathons, where you are getting in the last week or two people who are injured, and kind of a month before you're thinking we can do something with this. You're not going to get to race line in perfect, it's not get a PB. We can maybe find a way of doing this. When it gets to the last week or two and you're seeing people hobble in, pulling their leg behind them in a wheelbarrow, you kind of got to give them that news. You know what? But I know on their faces you see this relief where they go, I haven't got to do it. And you're like, no, you really haven't got to do it. Right. Sometimes it's because they're running for charity. But when they get that release, that freedom, or that permission, no, you haven't got to run 26.2 miles, it is a relief for them. And what you just said reminds me of that. It's sometimes they just need to talk to someone and say, you know what, you haven't got to do it. You're not going to lose all your strength or your fitness, and you go back to, you're going to be better off. You're going to come back stronger. So good point. Good point.
The other thing that could be helpful is having people disconnect, from their electronics. So sometimes just going without the watch, without the phone, just go out, just go as far as you feel like going, go at whatever pace your body feels comfortable going. Just look at the scenery, like listen to the sound of nature. And then even that, just kind of disconnecting from like a specific, well, I have to run this many miles at this pace, at this, cadence. Like just go out and just listen to your body. And that just takes the pressure off sometimes as well. And they're like, okay, I can make running fun again.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. Let's have a little look if any words of wisdom from the people in the house here. I'm sure there is a few big names in here. Just not used to cricking my neck this way. I'm going to get text neck. I'm going to go and see a physio. The endurance physio Mike says, hi both. That sky is very too blue. Yeah, I'm sure he's talking about Rebecca's sky, not mine. Although mine's not bad. Look,
yours is a good day.
Not bad, is it? We call it Lanzarote, but it's actually Lancing. Russell, Jim Gare, how you doing, man? How are you? Jim Gare, hello, great to see you both. Sunny day in the Shetland Isles as well. How beautiful. I want to get up there sometime. Jess is giving me a hey, Jess, how are you? Any questions here? Don't leave us to rabble on and on. Annie must have a question. Oh, here we go. What tips have you got, says Jess. Hey, Jess. What tips have you got for keeping the running mojo going during runs if you're using running as rehab? Okay, we'll have a look at that in a sec. Let me just check. Yeah, cool. So, yeah, well, that's an interesting question. I did a whole chat the other day about running as rehab and just making sure that you do understand at the end stage of rehab, running should be introduced as rehab, and you're not just go straight away back to what you were. It might be run walk, it might be avoiding a certain incline or something. But I mean, I went on way too long my last Facebook about a heel thing I've got going. I had to edit it all for YouTube. It was just like, I may as well just lie down and put my head in my hands and just cried. I had 5 podiatrists having a go at me saying, do an online consultation, which I did in the end. So thank you to a couple of podiatrists who I saw, Simon Spooner and Nick Knight, that gave me great advice. A lot of it was confirmation bias, and it was just made me feel less of an imposter, so it was good. I'm actually running today with some low tide daping, which I'd forgotten about completely. But yeah, running for rehab it can be great fun. Again, I think it's all about running. Is the great thing about running, I think, to be a happy runner, you've got to set yourself smart goals. Anyone who's done like a corporate workshop on achieving things in business, we all do this SMART, don't we? And specific, measurable. I think running is the same. If you get back from a run and you're disappointed, it's because you haven't set yourself a smart goal. You've bitten off more than you can chew. And it very much goes that way with rehab. You've got to choose something which you're going to maybe challenge you a little bit, but you're going to get back thinking, great, I did that today. I couldn't do that last week. And that's my one. What do you reckon, Rebecca, in terms of running for rehab to keep people's mojo?
Well, running for rehab, has definitely more specific goals than just running for fitness. So if you have a specifically outlined plan to load tissues in a certain manner, you kind of have to stick with that plan. And if you're having difficulty with that, then you need to have that conversation with your physio or your doctor or whoever prescribed you that running program, so that you're not changing the loading strategy that was dictated by that plan. But I actually find running for rehab almost more, easy to comply with, because you have a specific goal. Being able to load the tissues and get back to something that maybe you weren't able to do for a little while. But that's kind of my advice. I wouldn't deviate too far from an outlined plan with a medical provider.
That's true. The disclaimer at the bottom, moving along. Anyone who didn't catch, I had a fantastic chat a couple of nights ago with Todd Hargrove, who's a magnificent movement therapist, and it's all about playing it. And we talked about running a little bit, and how, as I was running today, I was trying to think of how much we can play when we run. We always play with variables like speed and incline and how far you're running. But there's plenty of other little games you can play while you're running. And I was doing it today because I'm trying to introduce a little bit more kind of frontal plane mechanics. So I'm doing kind of zigzags. I'm going around lampposts. I'm kind of now and again tried a little side shuffle. So even as long as you've got permission from your kind of therapist just seeing, but you don't have to just run in a straight line with your head down thinking, oh, I've got 5 minutes and I'm going to have to stop and walk again. Try and introduce, it's like Todd says, make the exercise whatever you've got in your environment. If you're running outdoors, why not use the lampposts? Why not use the cars? Why not try and, set your sights for the person in front of you who are doing intervals? And it's all playing. And the whole podcast is about that, how playing and that idea of being like a kid a little bit in a playground, making use of what you got around you, can make great progressions in exercise, whether it be rehab or performance as well. Play.
Such a great piece of advice.
So you've got to play. And I think, obviously, up here as well, When you're playing up here, it's escapism. It's fun. You know, if you're going out running, just thinking, I've got to get this 5K in 22 minutes. I've got to do it. I've got to do it. I've got to do it. That's not fun. You're less likely to do that if you just kind of think, I'm so lucky to be alive. Look at that sea. My family are well. I'm healthy. This the best half marathon I ever did. Can I say this online? Yes, I think I can. I just split up. I just got out of a relationship which I really wasn't happy in at all. I've been going on for years. I remember I went round to my brother's house, and I think it was the night Mike Tyson was fighting. Might have been Frank Bruno. I can't remember one of the fights. And I watched that. It was about 2 a.m. because it was in Vegas or something. And the half marathon was the next day, and we had to be down there about 7 o'clock. I'd had about 3 hours sleep on a sofa. But I remember, I'm not saying this is an excuse to break up with your other half just to get a good time, but I remember starting that half marathon. And once I got into my stride, even though I'd only had 3 hours sleep, which again, I don't condone, I was just in my mind thinking, I am free of that relationship, which wasn't working for either of us. And I just felt so happy. Suddenly it was like my feet weren't on the ground and I was just running on a cloud. And I got a fantastic time because I was just thinking, wow, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. So the power of this escapism is huge, 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 huge. But I don't want you to split up with your other half just because you want to get a PB. It's not a good idea.
No, but I understand that sense of freedom, giving you that ability to just kind of run with a carefree mind and.
Oh yeah, disconnect from it. It's the whole 80-20 thing, the Matt Fitzgerald principle. 20% of the time, yeah, put your craziness into it and just kind of, you know, really empty that reserve tank. But the other 80%, you've got to find ways of just enjoying life, enjoying the life. Okay, let's just check the question thing. Let's have a little look. I don't want to, there might be something interesting out there. Bum, bum, bum. Don't forget, people, if you have got any pieces of advice, whether you're a runner, well, for a runner at the moment, you're welcome to give them. I hope that answered your question, Jess, by the way, if you are rehabbing or helping someone rehab. Dave Wilson, how you doing, mate? Talking about, he's a good disconnector. I like Dave Wilson's threads. We've got Link. Emma, how you doing? Therapist. We'll have a chat to you and Emma in a sec about how you manage as a therapist with online consultation and stuff. Joe, how you doing? Granbury, how you doing? Anna Mongan says, I find that running can help. We're both like this. Oh, we're like happy Labradors. I find that running can help to keep some sort of structure in days that have otherwise kind of lost that. Yeah. I guess looking at how running can help through lockdown can be a motivator for me at least. Yeah, definitely. I would agree. The structure of running in itself, keeping a plan, it's very important for some people, not just to go out and think, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do today. Put some structure in. We're missing that. Adam Meakin's in the house. Hey, Adam. Royalty's in the house. How you doing, mate?
Adam?
I haven't forgiven you for choosing Paul Ingraham over Todd Hargrove the other day. You made your choice, mate. We'll talk about that later on. Anna Mongan says, I agree with that too, Matt. Had a great fartlek session last night. My son came with me, though, and asked mid-effort when we were going to start the effort. Yeah, kids. Having company was a motivator too. So, yeah. I think, I mean, you mentioned the buggy thing. I think I know at least 3 people who have started taking their kids out with buggies again, thinking it's a no-brainer. The kids are bored at home. My other half's going crazy and they need a break. I'll take the kid out. I can go out with a clear conscience. I take the kid's getting fresh air. You can talk with the kid. I do once a week. I do a Disney run where literally I'm running along the seafront with Disney songs playing. We're doing. I like to move it from kind of whatever the show was, and the kids are singing along. Move it. All the Disney shows, and we get smiles from people around us, and yeah, it's fantastic. So yeah, working with the kids, de-stressing and everything. Let's flip to therapists. So you mentioned you started online consultations, which some therapists have chosen not to do, which is fair enough. There's a bit of a debate about whether, I mean, I don't think it's a debate. I think it's more a fear that we shouldn't be doing online consultations because we can't help people. I think that's ridiculous. But there are some people who think, no, we have to be face-to-face. But I think that ignores the whole empathy, how you can help someone with the communication, with the education. I think most of the people saying we can't do online consultations are people who are just relying on manual skills and nothing else. But would you agree with that? I mean, I'm sure you just said it yourself, haven't you? There's loads we can do online.
Yeah, I mean, again, everyone always says this, but it depends on the person. You know, there are some people who are. I've definitely been a very heavily manual therapist for a lot of my career, and I've just recently started moving away from that, realizing that it wasn't getting me the effects that I was looking for. And in the last year or so, and it kind of depends on the clinic you're in. I mean, that's why I kind of moved into my own practice, so I knew I could treat the way I wanted to treat and make it effective. And in certain situations, people almost expect, you know, a half hour of a back rub, or 10 minutes of ultrasound or electrical stim and a hot pack. And they're like, okay, no, I'm good. I can go home now. And I'm like, well, you're missing the whole point. So it just kind of depends on the person in front of you. I do think there's a time and a place for hands-on approach. I think that it's not the only thing that's going to get a person better. If I had to choose between only touching someone or only talking to someone, I would choose talking to someone hands down every day. I think there's a lot more value in that than a hands-on approach without educating or having that conversation. So I think the telehealth has been working. I think it depends on the clinic setting you're in. I mean, if you have a population that needs, balance work or a lot of hands-on for swelling, lymphedema type stuff or post-op range of motion type stuff, yeah, people might need a little bit more of that hands-on situation. But for the most part, you can really achieve what you need to achieve through the telehealth.
Definitely. Yeah, I think if the therapist has chosen not to do it and they're happier not doing it, that's fine. But I think I've had a chat with a couple of younger therapists who they were getting stressed out because they realized that they kind of wanted to do it, but they didn't have the confidence, because it's good therapy, isn't it? I think we're therapists. We like helping other people. It makes us feel good. So if people are struggling out there, it makes sense. How easy was it for you to set it up? What do you use?
I'm using Zoom or I have electronic documentation, and you can do it through that as well. And I'll just send patients or clients the Zoom link and we log in, and everything's HIPAA compliant. So it's all secure. And you know what, honestly, the first one was a little nervous, but I had practiced a couple times and made sure I knew exactly what I needed to be looking at. And I think it makes it easier when you have a specific population that you're working with. Like, you have more of a consistent routine in terms of what you're looking for. So with runners, like, there are very set things that I'm asking and looking at. So it makes it a little more consistent. Yeah, I think you just have to do one and then do a second one and then do a third one. And it's just like when you first come out of PT school and you have to have your first patient. It's going to suck at first. You might be a little scared, but you'll get through it, and you'll feel so much better after that first one's done.
I think that's great advice. That's really good. I mean, I can't remember. I think actually it was a web chat put on by Adam Meekins and Ben Cormack. I can't remember if it was a free one or pay one, but it was something. It was worth paying if I did. I can't remember. But it was basically a really good webinar for therapists who are worried about online consultation. They're worried about missing red flags and things, and am I going to get this person worse? But then they kind of reminded therapists who are listening that when we do our subjective, we're doing an online anyway. Just because we're sitting opposite them, we're still that whole 20 minutes consultation. You may as well do on a video,
Right.
And any modern therapist will realize that subjective is so important. And then when it comes to the objectives, a certain amount of that you can do by getting someone on camera to stand on one leg and do a squat or something, or hop up and down, or they can go away and tell you if it hurts. So as you have experienced, I mean, once you've done one or two, you realize, you know what, maybe the future's a bit different here. Maybe I don't need people to come to my clinics. Do you think the future's going to change for therapists because of this?
I don't necessarily think for the therapy community as a whole. I think for these little maybe side pocket practices that are a little more specialized, maybe it's definitely going to change how I practice. But I think the insurance-based model, I don't know that it necessarily will support it as much. And I think people are very traditional. They have a mindset of what they expect physical therapy to be like. And, unfortunately, some people are just resistant to change. So as a whole, I don't think it's going to change too much. But I think if something like this were to happen again in the future, I think people will be able to adapt better.
Yeah, that's true. And then the chances of it happening again, depending on what you read and where you read, it could well be a second round of it. Let's have a look what Russell says. Gym gear, here we go. The lockdown has given me a bit more time to train, and seeing less clients has given the body more time to recover, trying to avoid overload. Overload, that's a good word. Hashtag overload. Have we just started that? Oh, no, I think it was Ian Griffiths from Project Live.
It was Ian Griffiths, yeah.
Overload. So overload can affect therapists just as much as runners. So starting a half marathon plan on Monday to keep me honest. Keep you honest? Keep them honest, okay. There's no reason why you can't. These people saying, I missed races, I can't train without races, I need something to work towards. I don't know, do you? Can't you just race against yourself? I have a race every week. One of my sessions is picking someone in the distance, and I'm racing them.
Yeah.
And when you're running along and you find that person is more or less the same pace as you, and they know what you're doing, and you know what they're doing, and it's kind of, okay, it's on, but we're not going to actually say anything. You can find your race any day of the week if you want.
Yeah.
If you need that little push. Bike's advice. Jess says, hey, great advice. Currently rehabbing the ankle. Yeah. I hope it goes well for you, Jess. If you need any advice or help, just let me know. Oaken Pod says, boy, hold on. Oaken Pod says, online consultations have been working well for me when dealing with runners, even just a starting point until clinic reopens. I think there's so much we can do as therapists with online consultations. And every time you see someone, it gives you more confidence, even if it's just getting rid of irritants. So many of my online consultations have been, I'm not saying they do need to call up because they need to hear from someone else. Your knee's still hurting. What have you been doing this week? I've been running. Okay, what else have you been doing? I've been gardening. I've been picking up and throwing the kids around. I've been kneeling down doing this. I've been paving the garden. All these things. They go, I've been overdoing it, haven't I? I'm like, yeah, you have. And it's not going to get better unless you want to do it. Okay, so maybe they pay you X amount for that bit of advice, but suddenly they're not hurting as much the next morning, and they needed that advice. You need a third party sometimes just to say the obvious. So, right, let's wrap it up with a little bit of. Has your mojo failed you at any points, Rebecca, at all? Have you felt a little bit down?
Yeah, it kind of comes and goes. I think the thing that's been hard for me is not necessarily the mojo for running, but I'm just been having difficulty with sleeping, and when you just don't have that good sleep, it just carries over into your next day. So I still love running, and every day I get out, there are some days that are harder than others, and it's usually when I didn't get a good night of sleep. Either Jackson was up in the night, or I have anxiety because I have all these things I need to do for work, or because I'm worried about the virus or finances, little things like that, and it just keeps my mind going. And I've never had an issue with sleeping before, so this is all new for me. So but I love getting out there. I mean, I just love the fresh air. I mean, I think I'm in a much better mood today, just getting out to the clay loop. Feel like I'm on top of the world right now. Yesterday, maybe it would have been a different conversation. I think, just like I said, getting that change of scenery and reminding yourself why you do this in the first place, it just really revitalizes you.
That's cool. I think there's so many therapists out there. I mean, not just therapists. The natural thing at the moment, I think, is to have ups and downs. Even people who are normally quite level. Because, like I say, one morning you wake up thinking, this is great, I'm going to get changed to go to work today. I can just work from home. I can eat when I want. I can drink as much. I haven't got to pay ridiculous amounts of money at a Starbucks for coffee anymore. I'm saving money. And it feels great. And then the next day you wake up, and your body just goes, really? Is this it for the next 5, 6, 7 weeks? Really? And the kids screaming again. I've got to make them lunch and dinner. And it's like, ugh. So I think it's normal to have mood swings. And I think sometimes for therapists who are trying to motivate other people and help other people, when you feel down yourself and you think, oh, now I've got to go online and help someone else, it's tricky. It's a bit of a, but I think like the same as anybody, it's just communication, isn't it? There's a lot of forums now for therapists who are actually opening up quite a lot. I don't know if anyone's in the room now. I mean, at our end, Sports Injury Fix with Mike and Malcolm and Tom are really cool. They've got a real nice soundboard of therapists just saying, oh, I felt really down today. What can I do? And other people are getting really thoughtful. I'm hoping that one of the things that comes out of this is just more of a community spirit. There's this big stimulus of like men not talking, for example. We know the stats show that men. I'm hoping something like this helps people talk a bit more. I'm seeing it a bit more. I'm seeing grown men kind of just saying, you know what? I'm not in a very good place at the moment. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm generalizing, but women, oh no, I'm not going to say it. I was going to say women are better at talking to each other and communicating. I don't know if that's unfair, but I think stereotyping, but men find it a bit more difficult to open up. Right, let's have a little look before we go. Any other therapists out there having problems? How they've overcome it at all? Jess says it's nice having the virtual races. Virtual races are cool. Yeah, there is options out there.
There's something in the U.S. going on right now. It's really cool. It's a virtual race across Tennessee, and it's like 1,000. Yeah, 1,000. Is it miles? Kilometers? 1,000 kilometers. Oh yeah. In 4 months. So it's just little things like that just give you. So I just signed up for that. It's from May 1st until August 31st, and it kind of tracks you across the state of Tennessee. It's pretty cool. I think little things like that just give you a little bit of extra motivation as well. And then I just try to wake up every morning and just remind myself, like, if if this is the worst that my life is going to get, like, I'm very blessed. So just reminding like, I have a roof over my head. My husband has a job. I have a wonderful family. Like, we have our health. Like, I have to remind myself that our little problems right now are just relatively insignificant in like the grand scheme of things. And that just kind of snaps me back into reality. And I'm like, okay, I can get through today. I can get through my, having to homeschool my toddler. Yes, it's challenging, but if this is, again, the worst thing that happens to me today, I'm very blessed.
It's very good. Very, very wise words. Amazing. I'd pay to talk to you. I would. Let's have a look. Let's have a think. Fine. Okay. I think I'm just checking if no one else has asked any particular questions. Yeah, there we go. Right. Well, look, I don't know what time it is now, but I know I've got a family at home waiting for me. Rebecca, it's been so nice talking to you. What have you got planned for us today then? What are you doing? You got anything set up?
Am I what?
Later today, what have you got planned for you? How are you spending the rest of your day?
Just entertaining the toddler, getting him tired out, we have like a little blow up pool we'll fill up and let him run around, splash in there. We have a sand pit that my mother-in-law got him that he absolutely loves driving his cars in. So yeah, it's all about keeping the toddler entertained.
Brilliant. Yeah, I know exactly what that's about.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Right, well, it's been so nice. Well, maybe we'll do this as then. Maybe we'll try and make it a regular thing. It'd be nice.
Yeah, that would be great.
I like this. I feel very unified. It always freaks me out and amazes me and makes me feel so happy that you're chatting from Orlando, I'm chatting from like South Coast in England, and it's like,
I know, it's pretty cool.
I think it's quite nice. It's humbling. It's good. If anyone wants to contact you, then where do you mainly hang out? Is it more Instagram? Most of your stuff goes on Instagram, is it?
Yeah, more on Instagram. My Core Values does have a Facebook page, or Rebecca Smith on Facebook. Either way, I'm around.
Yeah, and you got loads of exercises and videos and stuff you're putting out, which I think are great.
I'm really trying to work on that content. Thank you.
No, they're looking great. They're really good. And what I like about them, got to be careful how I say this, they don't look over the top professional. Now that doesn't mean
they're not going to look over the top professional.
Yeah, don't take that wrong. I think for me, and maybe it's just a personal thing, but sometimes these flashy videos with like these spinning entrance things and guns and sparks, it's like, really? And is that being made by a marketing mogul, or is it made by someone who cares? Your videos, you can see they're straight to the point, they're simple to follow, and that draws me in more. I think that's better. It's like real. So no, I applaud you for them. So yeah, check out Rebecca if you haven't seen them yet. And obviously your website, which is, your name changes, doesn't it, a little bit? Your website has Orlando in the title, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's corevaluesptorlando.com.
That's the website, exactly. Yeah. In the chat. And there's loads of stuff in there. Right. Okay, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. We'll do it again soon.
All right. Stay safe.
Okay.
Bye.
No worries. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Right. Okay. Interesting, wonderful. Fantastic. Yeah, I'll definitely look out. If you're a runner looking for exercises and Mojo and stuff, then I would definitely check out Rebecca's stream. Mostly is on Instagram, but there is a Facebook account as well and the website. We'll try and make that a regular thing as well. I feel like I need to go for another run now. I will be trying to put in my daily. It's normally over on Facebook. Okay, I might try and do once a week on Instagram, but most of the people who I'm working with online and stuff are on Facebook, and I kind of include this as part of their support. So pretty much every day we're over on Facebook. I do a post-run thing, but we'll do once a week on here. I think it's nice. I like the Instagram crowd as well. So just check I'm not ignoring anybody's comments or questions. Actually, can I turn it this way now? I think I can. Oh, that's better. It's getting text neck. It's terrible. Right, I'm out of here. I'm going back home. Thanks for joining us, people. Anna Mongan, thanks for the chat. Enjoy the weekend. Thank you, and to you, Anna. And I will reply to that email soon. I promise you. Right, take care, people. I should fade out with the beautiful scenery of Lansing. Bye-bye.